There comes a time in our lives, if you live long enough, that we forget and become jaded about our youth. Obviously, the things we did in our 20s are, for some of us anyway, physically impossible to do in our 70s. Well, the other day, I had a conversation with a young man who told me that I needn't worry about having sex with him because he was on PrEP. My name is Eric, and welcome to the craziness that lives inside my head. G.M.H.C, Gay Men Health Crisis, was founded in January 1982 after reports began surfacing in San Francisco and New York City that a rare form of cancer called Kaposi's sarcoma was affecting young gay men. After the Centers for Disease Control declared that the new disease an epidemic. The Gay Men's Health Crisis was created when 80 men gathered in New York City, writer Larry Kramer apartment to discuss the issue of gay cancer and to raise money for research. G.M.H.C took the name from the fact that the earliest men who fell victims to AIDS in the early 1980s were gay. So G.M.H.C had a buddy volunteer, which I did. I volunteered as a buddy. A buddy's primary responsibility is to provide emotional support to a gay men's health crisis client, whether newly diagnosed or long-term survivor. By making regular visits to the client in their home, the buddy works as a liaison to connect the client with the services of G.M.H.C or other social services agencies as needed. Responsibilities included assisting the client with light errands and socialization through various activities while reporting back to the agency on a regular basis. A buddy must be able to commit to the program for 1 year and be able to visit their client for 1 to 4 hours per week at a mutually agreed time. Now you might say, why are you bringing all this up? The kid said he was on PrEP. Well, it just brought back memories. We all know why he's on PrEP. Well, those of us who in the gay community know why he's on PrEP. He's on PrEP because now things change. Things has changed. Back in the 80s, if you was HIV positive or you had AIDS, you was like an outcast from the community. And because, with the help, I guess, with the funds that GMHC donated to this research and other organization that donated to the research, they came up, was it 20, I don't know what year they came up, but they came up with PrEP. And PrEP is good if you take it before you have sex, I guess. I shouldn't even talk on this PrEP. But I just found it, this kid wasn't the only one. I have friends, not as old as I am, they're in their 50s, and they're taking PrEP. So the kid just wanted to make it clear that he was okay He was I don't know if he was HIV positive or not, but he was on PrEP, and it just brought back memories. It brought back memories when one of the things I did. I know you hear me talk a lot about my sobriety, but one of the things I did when I got sober, I became a buddy. That was 1988. I became a buddy for G.M.H.C. And my first client, believe it or not, was a female. She was a straight woman, straight married woman. Her husband died of AIDS. He was a drug addict. They both were addicts. Her husband died of AIDS, and she was diagnosed. She had AIDS, and I became her buddy. And it was a very interesting experience being a buddy. I took her to G.M.H.C. used to have dinners, I think on Friday nights. Friday nights I would take her to G.M.H.C. for a free dinner. I have dinner with her. And I'll do errands for her and take her to, if she need help to go into appointments and stuff like that, I did that. I'm just saying this kid just brought all these memories up. I mean, it's interesting he brought it up because like I said, I have friends who on PrEP, but when we talk about PrEP with them, I don't know. I didn't really think about it. And then we have what happened with me, my experience. It's a very interesting experience because she was my first client. I had two more clients, two gay men. And I remember the one gay guy we had who was my client. I did take him to G.M.H.C. for dinners on Friday nights. I think I met him and got, you know how you meet somebody, become friendly, we became friends, we talk, not on a daily basis, but we talk once or twice a week. I only took him out, Fridays was our night to go out to, to have dinner, and he passed. A week after that, I think a week or 2 weeks after, I think I took him to dinner like 2 or 3 times. And I found out through his sister, he passed. She called me up to let me know that I wouldn't be able to, not to pick him up that Friday night because her brother passed. And that was sad. That was sad. He was a nice guy. He was a real nice guy. Then then they gave me another buddy. I was another buddy with another gay man. And that was very interesting with him. And we, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. These are not people that I spend all my life with. These are people that I meet and with them maybe 2 or 3 hours a week. So like I said, once in a while during the week, we might talk on the phone. And then on Friday nights, I always take them to dinner at G.M.H.C. at the gay center. I take them to dinner. And no, we didn't have dinner. G.M.H.C. had their own place, if I'm not mistaken, where we took them to dinner. But anyway, to make a long story short, he passed. I think maybe I was his buddy for a month. The woman, I was on a buddy with her for about a month, 2 months. I don't know what happened. I'm not sure she passed or not. I'm not quite sure. I keep thinking, I think she wanted a female buddy. And I think that's what it is. And at the time, G.M.H.C. didn't have any female buddies. And I think that's what happened. I know I was her buddy for a while, and I didn't know that she wanted a female buddy. Now, I don't remember her dying, but I do remember her. I just can't remember what happened. I know she didn't die, but I think she finally got a female buddy that, which was great. I didn't matter. But my third client, my third buddy that I became buddies with, I think it was a good month or so, and he passed. And he passed unexpectedly. It wasn't like, far as I know, he wasn't sickly or anything. I got a phone call that he passed. And I became depressed, really depressed. I became depressed to the point that I didn't want to be friends with anybody who was HIV or have AIDS, because I'm thinking, well, they're going to die on me. And that has nothing to do with them. That has to do with, because at the time I was seeing a psychiatrist because of my alcoholism. And my therapist said that I had a fear of being abandoned. And that's what that was all about, being abandoned. Because it came to the point I got very depressed. Here I am putting my I don't want to say soul, but putting my energies into doing these things and getting to know people, especially when you get to know somebody and you like the person and then they're gone. So I was abandoned. That's how I took it in my psyche. They abandoned me. So anyway, I was told by my therapist to take a break. Let's be honest, I never went back to being a buddy. In fact, there was a long time, especially in the 90s and the 2000s, I think my mind kind of shut down about being gay and dating these guys who could be out here with HIV, and I'm quite sure I did. In fact, at the time in the 90s, my best friend was Robert. We went to a bar and we both took home a man. I don't think I knew. I think he knew. The guy had AIDS, and we both had sex with him. And I found that out after Robert, who never told me he had AIDS, I found through the grapevine. Now, this is somebody I talked to almost every day. He was my friend, but never told me that he had AIDS until he went to the hospital. And they said he was diagnosed with AIDS. And then, of course, I freaked out because I said, oh my God, we had sex with the same guy. Because that guy actually had passed. He passed because he had AIDS. And then I went, got tested and tested negative. And while we were on that subject, I had another friend who I like very much. And we were at G.M.H.C. orientation on being a buddy. He was going to be a buddy. And one of the things in an organization is orientation. Orientation was because they teach you, they try to go over how you be a buddy, what you're supposed to do, and all that was the orientation. So we're sitting at the table, and one of the things they had to do, not had to do, but they suggested that we tell people our status. Because that was a big thing back in the 80s. People were scared to tell their status. They'll go out and get drunk and have sex with you and have full-blown AIDS. And I think that was something that in the gay community was trying to, they wanted people to tell their status because you don't have to, you just wear a rubber, a condom, which a lot of people don't want to do. That's where bareback came from. So anyway, so this one's supposed to be a friend of mine. I think he knew the fact that, I don't know if he knew that I fooled around with somebody who had AIDS at the time. But it was interesting because when he confided in me that at the table, not me, but the people sitting at this table, that he had AIDS. I didn't know that. It's like my other friend, Robert. Robert never told me. I didn't know that. I was shocked. He looked well to me. And we all went around the table and it came to me. And I told you what happened. I just took the test. I was negative. And he said to me, when I told him that, he became upset and angry. He said, what do you mean? Did you get tested? Because you're the biggest whore in New York City. I said, yes, I got tested. And he knew my friend, yes. He knew what you call him had AIDS. I didn't know he had AIDS. So he confided and I kind of think now, the only reason why I think he confide in the people in the table. Most of the people, we had 2 guys, 2 females. I should say 3 guys and 2 female. Of course, the 2 guys with full-blown AIDS, and the women weren't. They were, they just want to volunteer to help out in the gay community. So the two gay guys at the table, yeah, they had AIDS. One was HIV and he had AIDS, and I didn't. And I think the only reason why he admitted, confided in everybody that he had AIDS, because the thinking was, how that saying, everybody had, you have it, so I know if I have it, I know you got it, and he didn't mind doing it. But when they find out that I didn't have it, he just exploded. And this was a friend, which we weren't friends anymore at that. He was highly upset that I wasn't HIV and I didn't have AIDS and I wasn't HIV. Didn't believe me, but I think he got through heard through the grapevine that I was HIV negative. I was negative. I wasn't positive. So anyway, but this kid who's on prep, for some reason, brought all this out. Because I'm going to tell you something. If we were back in the 80s and this kid confided in me that he was HIV or he had AIDS, I would probably distance myself, especially sexually. I distant myself, which is how's that saying? Which is 180-degree different if I was drinking. Mind you, I was in sobriety. When I was drinking and carrying on in the 70s and the early 80s, like I said, nobody in the gay community would go out and say that, oh, I'm HIV or I have AIDS. They never, they didn't tell their status. You meet somebody at a bar, you go home, you have sex, and you go and. And it was like, I had another friend back there when I was drinking. He said that I'm playing Russian roulette with my life. Because you see, you're out there, you're getting high, you're having sex with all these guys, and you don't know what they got, and you're going to get caught. And as they say, they got to be a god, or they got to be a guardian angel. I never thought that I would live to be 72 years old. I mean, my life was crazy back in the 70s and 80s and the stuff that I did and getting arrested. That's another story for another podcast. I got arrested plenty of times. Anyway, I just want to touch on what the kid saying that he was on prep, what he made me realize. I guess I should be happy that I am alive today. You just heard the craziness that lives inside my head.